You know, you watch a film like this, and there's an awful lot of pressure to have all the answers. And I don't know why, as a teacher, you're always suckered into that idea that you know, these problems, you should just put them on your back and try to figure it out. Of course, we know that's impossible. That we need everyone to really think about these things. There's a lot of distinguished teachers in the audience. And so what we're going to do is just give a little brief introduction of ourselves and our work. And then we're going to have a dialogue with you all. Okay. So, as I already said, I teach in a journalism program. And I may be, well, not maybe, I am a lot luckier than people who teach K through 12. Because the students come as undergraduates with a certain amount of skill already. And I work in journalism, which, you know, by its very definition is to question. And so I'm encouraging my students to question everything. And that necessarily takes in a lot of issues about themselves and their own meaning and what their education really means. But having put that forth as an advantage, I still see the same types of problems with kids caught up in achievement and worried about graduate school and kind of off the chart. And it's a very personal kind of responsibility that comes with teaching those students. To my right is Chris Fournier. Chris Fournier is the administrative director at the, I was kind of hesitating because I was going to say PVTA. It's PVPA, the Planning Valley School for the Performing Arts. And to my left is the guy I just met. So I'm probably going to get his name wrong. It's Barry O'Connell. Oh, I got it right. And he runs the education programs at Amherst College. So,
well, first off, good evening, and the folks up top, how you doing? So I'm the administrative director over at the Performing Arts School. Some we've actually known it as PIVPA, but anybody in the PIVPA family out here? Anybody that has students that go to our school? Hello. I guess what I'm struck by most with this, there are many things to think about in this particular film, and I'm looking forward to different perspectives on this. As Nick pointed out, it's a lot about us reflecting on this, and a couple things struck me, but I want to just hit upon one that I'm oftentimes thinking about. I recognize how this dynamic plays out in the school that I'm at, and I recognize how it plays out in this school district and other school districts as well. But class seems to be, and I'm talking about economic class, seems to be front and central to the stories that unfolded before us tonight. I think that when you look at the first part of the film, the families that were the high stakes, high pressure environment seem to be, I see two different poles occurring here. One where there is this keeping up with the Jones mentality that we in many ways buy into, and this further complicates things for our kids, our students. And another pole is going to be the pull for students that are interested, and I'm talking that are in lower economic class, that are striving for economic achievement, being pulled to coming back to homes or having friends that are not understanding their desire to want to achieve, and then pulling them in that other direction away from that. And so those are I'm just giving you my initial thought, and it's something that I think about regularly at the school that I'm at. But I really look forward to to getting into this discussion in a lively way. So thank you for having me here tonight.
I'm actually struggling with trying to figure out why I dislike this film so much. And when there's so many things in it that I agree with. But there's something fundamental for me missing here, which makes the film, I would argue, potentially a profoundly dishonest film. And what's missing, it seems to me, are a couple of simple things in a way. The solution to them is not simple, as Nick points out. One is that though it does insist and say at one point about the centrality of teachers, it doesn't really talk about that enough for me. And secondly of all, it does not seriously examine the economic framework within which all of this is happening and has happened. And that economic framework is such is that if every student in America did what educational reformers of a certain ilk say, that is, we got everybody so they could go to college, there aren't jobs for them. It's a simple fact. The reason we have competition so powerfully and intensely is that competition is always a way, whether consciously or not, the people who profit most from the way things are arranged in the society are able to cover up to the rest that somebody is monopolizing most of the resources, and that what's left over isn't much. We have the worst inequality in wealth and income in this country of any society on earth today. And it's a reality that we don't face. It is so bad that some students of social mobility say that the social mobility rate in the United States right now is 0. And what does that mean? It means that if a person rises, somebody else must fall. They're not gains. All of the promises that are still implied in this film are wrong, because the film won't examine why these pressures that it examines so well exist. Elite families, of whom there are many, you're right, in the film, are terrified. And they're terrified for a perfectly good reason. And it's true that the solution we've found, which is to overprogram children and push them unbelievably, that those solutions will further ensure our incapacity as a society to create the opportunities needed. But the film doesn't really go there. It goes to, well, if administrators did better things, and doctors did better things, and teachers did better things, and all of us did better things, somehow that would solve it. Well, until one thinks hard about the missing opportunities that we live with in this culture now, none of those solutions will solve them.
Okay, we can all go home now. Well, you know, it's nothing like it's nothing like a little equal opportunity of misery to draw the problems of so-called lower classes into relief in a way that people in the upper classes can begin to identify with in some kind of real way. So I kind of welcome the new economic order, because it's never been a guarantee that education would do anything for the kids in Springfield where I grew up. Now, that said, you know, I'm gonna let y'all talk. So, you know, I'll call on some people, and I know some people work in the system are in this audience. So, Mary, why don't you talk a little bit, and then whoever else wants to talk. Okay. No?